Welcome back to the Frenzy Extra, everyone. Kevin Shea alongside of Jim Wilson from the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. Really, tonight we'll talk a little bit about the divisions, kind of how they stack out now, looking ahead to the playoffs, because believe it or not, we're rapidly getting to that point. And there's some wide open. I mean, starting with Division One, it's very wide open in terms of, I had a coach last week say, Wachusett could be your Division One Super Bowl champion when it's all said and done.
Don't let them hear you say that.
You look at that stuff, right? They're going to hate to hear that. But look at them defensively, solid as you get. Now the last couple of weeks they've started to throw the ball a little bit. They have a great kicking game, one of the best in Central Mass. But now they throw that element of a pass in there, and teams can't just put 10 guys in the box. They'll dump it over the top. They could wind up winning this whole thing when, as crazy as that sounded, maybe in week 2 or 3.
Right. I think, you know what, a lot of people are back to sleeping on Wachusett because, I think, believe it or not, I think it was Dubzinski's master plan to lose to Westboro and throw everybody off their scent.
Probably was.
And then all of a sudden now they come back because, like you said, it's wide open. I mean, Shrewsbury, we know the playoff teams. It's going to be Shrewsbury, Wachusett, St. John's, and Leominster. They're in the playoffs. It's just a matter of where they stack up, what matchups are 1 versus 4. So, I mean, Shrewsbury has 137 points now. Wachusett and St. John's right back in second and third. Wachusett has 117. St. John's has 116. I mean, the schedule these guys play down the stretch, those things can change on a dime. So that's what you're looking at. Who's playing well going into it? Did St. John's snap out of that funk in October, and they're starting to win teams like they should be beating teams. So that's another thing to watch at. Leominster, that loss to Shrewsbury is a great loss for them because they were in it. It was the last-second loss, a lot like when St. John's lost to Shrewsbury and things like that. So I mean, that's what I like about Division One. There's not one clear favorite. Anybody can beat anybody, and that's why I love that kind of football.
And there would be some great rematches, like you said. St. John's, Leominster. That game was decided on the last play of the game, essentially. Leominster with the touchdown. Shrewsbury and Leominster last week decided on the last play of the game with a touchdown. I was at that game. I was very impressed with Terry Wallace's play calling for Shrewsbury. I thought he called a great game. Dave Palazzi called a great game for Leominster as well, but Shrewsbury ran the ball real effectively, and a lot of times it was 3rd and 4, they'd run a little S-trap, or they'd run the ball when you thought they were going to pass, and it worked. 3rd and 5, and they were getting first downs. When they threw the ball, they threw it effectively. Coggeshall showed tremendous poise, especially on that last throw. First of all, they converted on 2 or 3 fourth downs on the final drive.
Exactly. I mean,
and then that final one to Ryan Doobie, who was fantastic all night long.
That was a great win for sure. Exactly like you said. They had dug deep. Leominster scored late, and you looked at it. Okay, well, this is where it's over. There's too much clock left, and they couldn't. There's too much field to go down. They converted on 4th down 3 times that final drive. Coggeshall had a great game, coming out party for him. Everybody's starting to talk about him as being one of the elite quarterbacks. They should have been doing that all along.
You're right.
I mean, and Terry Wallace, he thrives on games like this. He's probably aged about 50 years in the last couple of weeks with these kind of wins that he's getting. But they did a great job. They show they belong on top of Division One with a great win like that. They got to carry that over because, like I said earlier, it's who's playing well now. It doesn't matter what you did before. That's why I'm saying with St. John's, you can wipe off that 4-game losing streak because if they get back on their offense on track and Drew Smiley's going for the passing record this weekend with Dylan Kierman and Quabbin, that they have the offense. If they can solve those problems on the defensive end, they could be a team to beat too.
Yeah, and that's their whole thing. They'll score with anyone, no matter who they're playing. It's the other side of the ball, as you mentioned, defense with St. John's, stopping people. And you look at Shrewsbury and the weapons they have, and Leominster. And I thought a great call, Dave Palazzi, late in the game, the touchdown that put Leominster ahead. Everyone's looking at O'Connor, and rightly so. Number 1 target. They have a little slip screen to Addo. Boom, goes in. It's like a 20-yard touchdown play. You see a lot of great creative minds in the coaching ranks in Central Mass. And a lot of times we don't get to talk about that. You're showing highlights, you're writing a game story, and it's boom, 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 nuts and bolts. But there are a lot of great offensive, creative minds out there. Obviously defensive too, but it's fun.
The great games within the game type of stuff.
Yeah,
like I said,
exactly.
The stuff you don't really see on the surface, but you look deeper and say, why was that play called?
Yeah.
What did it do? What were they looking for? And that's when you see these guys shine, because this is why these guys win these playoff games.
Division 2. We got Neshoba at the top. Neshoba taking on Doherty, Shepherd Hill and Doherty are 2 and 3. Those two play this week.
Huge game.
That's the biggest game of the week.
That's a huge game. It's one of the biggest games since the last time we talked about a big game with
exactly.
Neshoba Doherty. Because Doherty, they lost to Neshoba a couple weeks ago, but you know what? It wasn't a bad loss for them. They were in that game till the very end. They took the lead in the 4th quarter. I think at that time they just couldn't stop Neshoba. Not a lot of teams can. Shepherd Hill's coming off a great win a couple weeks ago against Northbridge. Did everything right. And I think they see a lot at Northbridge in the same as Doherty, because I think they both have the same kind of explosive offense, solid running game. Northbridge can run the ball when it has to. And Doherty can run the ball very well with Abdul Webster and his friends over them in the backfield. But that passing game is, with Luke Brennan, that's going to be tough for Shepherd Hill to stop. But they were able to contain Northbridge too. They did everything right in that game, and hopefully they don't get complacent because they're going to have the same type of fight against Doherty this week.
Division 3, what we'll do is we can go really quickly with Division 3 because, and it's no disrespect to anyone, Auburn's in Division 3. They're the best team in Central Mass right now. So, Groton Dunstable, teams like that, Hudson, they'll have a tough road to hoe there. It's Auburn's division, obviously, barring some, miracle on ice upset.
It's basically Division 3 and Division 4, for that matter, are who gets the last couple spots.
Yep.
You have the big game this week against Tantascwa and Nipmuc. Both teams, if they win, they're in good position. If they lose, they're done. You might as well, they're playing next year and give your equipment at the door. But not to stop that one. But with that game right there, it's two good offenses. I mean, I like what Tantascwa's doing this year. They came a long way, right to the ship. They're pretty good. So I think they should be able to beat Nipmuc if everything goes well for them, and that puts them into that Division 3 mix. It jumps Quabbin and Oakmont, who are also in the fighting for that last spot. So we'll be interested to see what comes out of that game.
All right, we got 2 minutes to go through 3 divisions now. Division 4, Northbridge Grafton at the top. I'd love to see that rematch. That was a fantastic game.
Exactly. I mean, that's to be. I think Grafton is a great team. We talk about them every week. They have a solid defense. Their offense will do a lot of things with Munoz and those guys. And I think they've been wanting another crack at Northbridge. And I think that's they sort of look in the back of their mind. They know if everything goes well, they might get that rematch in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. So I think that's what's shaping up. 3-team race for that final spot with Nipmuc, like I talked before, Millbury and Lunenburg also in the mix. So I think they're going to be fighting the next couple weeks should decide who gets that spot.
Grafton could be really an unheralded team too. Could be a top 10 team. Okay, Division 5. You have West Boylston, you have Tingsboro, you have Leicester. There's a lot of good teams in there. Leicester's a team that I think could be the front runner in there. I mean, I haven't seen Tingsboro yet in person, but Leicester would be my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, Tingsboro, because they're in New Hampshire pretty much, a lot of people don't really know what's going on with them, but they're undefeated, and they've beaten some good teams. So you gotta take them in that consideration, because West Boylston, coming off a tough loss to Littleton, let's see what they can bounce for that, because they got a tough game against Maynard this week, and that, Sean Peterson, they're stellar running back, so it's going to be tough to see. It's not like they can rest and just try to regroup for Thanksgiving. So it'll be interesting to see but like you said, Leicester, I've liked Leicester all season.
Yeah.
I think their loss was to Auburn, and they lost to Grafton in week 2. And that's a pretty good slate of losses, especially losing to Grafton early when they're still trying to figure out what they have. Yep. Replacing one of the best lines in Central Mass last year is not easy. So having them just really start rolling along this year. They're playing well right now.
We got 10 seconds left for Division 6. You go that Division 6 is wide open.
Division 6.
That's probably the deepest division out there.
Because you got Valley Tech and Bay Path at 2 and 3, and even though Bay Path beat Valley Tech, they're still behind them in the power rankings, which it has a lot of people scratching their heads. Littleton beating West Boylston. They put up at 148 points. They might be the team to beat in Division 6 just because they're so good.
Once again, out of time. We will get to more of this next week. He's Jim Wilson. I'm Kevin Shea. More of the Frenzy Extra coming up next.
Good job, Shea. Here's a lollipop.